Okay, good morning, St. Rita, and welcome to the first ever St. Rita Feast Day of Giving. We're going to be coming at you all day today with live interviews. My name is Rob Gallick. I'm a 2010 St. Rita grad. I'm also the alumni and donor coordinator at St. Rita, working in the advancement office. And luckily and thankfully, we are here this morning live with head baseball coach John Nee, 1993 St. Rita graduate, St. Francis alum. He's been at St. Rita for many years, held titles as an English teacher, dean of men, assistant football coach for many years, alongside head football coach Todd Kuska, who we'll have on later today at 5 p.m., same spot, Facebook Live. Johnny, thanks for coming on today. Welcome. Let's jump right in. How's quarantine going? How you been hanging in there? What you been doing?
Things are going well. Obviously it's our new normal. Obviously, I miss our players quite a bit. Very disappointed in how this season turned out. We were really excited about this special group of seniors. But I did get an opportunity to visit each of their homes on Saturday to do a pseudo senior day. So that was nice to see their faces and have conversations, and makes you realize how much you miss those guys. But made the best of a bad situation.
Yeah, of course. And it was great. For those of you that might have seen on our social media, we did do an impromptu spring sports senior day where we had coaches drop off signs at their senior players' houses and be able to take a quick picture with for the parents and things like that. So it was a really cool moment for a lot of those guys. And I want to jump into baseball here in a second. But before that, I mentioned you are an English teacher by day. And how is the transition to e-learning to kind of finish out this semester? I know you guys are going through final exams. This week, next week, final projects, I should say, I think is kind of how we're finishing. But how's the transition been to kind of finish out this year with e-learning?
It's gone much more smoothly than I had anticipated. We kind of got into a routine after that first week, meeting on Zoom every Monday to kind of discuss the week's worth of work. Guys have done a great job of communicating up and back through email, through other avenues. Like I said, overall, I can speak for my 4 classes. I think they've gone great. I have two junior classes, one senior and a freshman, all different subjects, different areas, but I've been very, very happy with the level of participation, the quality of the work. And once again, I think our kids stepped up to the plate like they always do, making the best of a tough situation. And, really, really shine through. And it's a testament to them, to their families. We know the type of kids and the type of families we attract at St. Rita. And I thought those things really came shining through during these last few difficult months.
So did you notice a difference between how the freshmen handled it versus your junior classes versus your seniors? Was there like different levels of, I'm sure you had to adjust in some ways. So
sure.
How'd you kind of approach that?
Freshmen, you have to hold their hand a little bit. You have to hold their hand in the classroom a little bit. And, I've grown accustomed to teaching upperclassmen through my time at St. Rita, mostly the juniors and with some senior classes mixed in. So this is my first foray back into the freshmen, going back to, 98, 99, my first couple of years. So I realized very quickly at the start of the semester that, you gotta remember who you're dealing with. And, freshmen are great in regards to the fact that they can be molded. They hang on every word that you say, but you also recognize that you've got to hold their hand through everything. They've got question after question. And so that was no different, But once again, those guys would email me during the week. We would clear up any issues. It was a composition class, so I would assign a different essay topic each week. And, they would go through the various steps, and, I'd give them feedback on their work. And like I said, for the most part, the participation level was great. I had 22 guys in that freshman class, and all 22 guys handed in all their essays. And like I said, the work was of great quality, and I saw the improvement even during the time. So I was excited about that.
Awesome. And that's what we've heard a lot of similar stories from our teachers when we talk about how the transition has been to e-learning, you want to make sure that people, especially students, learn differently at different ages. So we really do a lot to incorporate as much as we can into the classroom. But it's been great to hear that especially with guys like freshmen, that when you still have, there's a lot of transition going on between coming in their 8th grade. And even now, some guys are still developing, still kind of just getting into their St. Rita life and getting comfortable in it. So I'm sure it's been a tough transition for them, but hearing that there's been a lot of positives, and they've really been able to pick it up and run with it and still finish the year strong is important, because that's what we do. That's what the end goal, that we want our guys to be able to take the lead in their education and really take advantage of it. So being able to transition is great to hear. But I do want to talk about the seniors. Obviously, it was a tough spring. I do want to talk about, let's jump into baseball here. Preseason ranked by MaxPrex #1 in the state of Illinois. I think you guys were 34 nationally. Yeah. I mean, those are high expectations. I mean, having a #1 ranking in the state of Illinois, and especially playing in the Catholic League Blue, is a tough task, just year in and year out for the conference. But how high expectations? How did the whole spring develop? I mean, what was kind of the roller coaster that you guys went through?
So, obviously we had a tremendous year last year, and I think we kind of snuck up on some people. We weren't highly ranked in preseason, and next thing we knew, we won the Catholic League Blue outright, and we were in the Final Four in Joliet. And I don't think it surprised any of us within the program, but I think, we opened some eyes outside. And obviously, off of success comes great expectations. And, we had so many guys in this current 15-man senior class that contributed last year as juniors to that success. And, obviously, like I said, with that comes high expectations and a high ranking. We start baseball in December. We do morning workouts with Coach Griff, one of the best strength coaches around, as you know, Rob. And I saw from the moment we started in December, the level of dedication. We'd come in at 6:30 in the morning 3 times a week, and we'd have upwards of 50 guys each session, all 3 levels of baseball. And, I saw the dedication. I saw how the guys work together. I saw that look in their eye. I would just kind of stand back and observe. And, I more spent that time as a coach walking around, just kind of checking in on guys and making sure things are going well at home and academically and things of that nature, and getting guys feelings on what they want to do for college. But for the most part, the senior leaders took control of that. And we were so excited coming out of that. And then we started preseason practice around March 1st. And I've told my guys this several times, and, we've tried to get together as a team once a week throughout this entire quarantine. And I told them several times, I said, what, guys, I've been fortunate enough to have been having done this for a long time. And, you get a feel about teams, and you know what really good teams look like, how they practice, how they carry themselves. And I will say this, through our first 2 weeks of practice, after practice, we would look at each other as a coaching staff and say, man, we're really good. Like really good. The way we would practice, the way we go about our business, whether it was drills, whether it was infield, whatever we were doing, just it was a level of focus. And I just think we were primed to be really, really good. And, that's disappointing. And like I said, this senior class, a 15-member class, is such a special group. 7 of those guys have committed to play college baseball. A few others are still considering it. Great academic kids. We've been featuring them on Twitter daily, trying to really not only take a look at their accomplishments on the field, but their accomplishments in the classroom. So many GPAs and the 3.4s, and high ACT scores, and just quality kids from quality families. And it's been the cornerstone of our program for a long time. That's why we've been able to have sustained success. And this group, like I said, was primed to be, I think, in the conversation, one of the best senior classes we've ever had.
Absolutely. And you talked about 7 seniors out of 15. I mean, that's almost half the amount of seniors that you had on the team already committed. You mentioned a couple more, so that could jump over. I want to get some of these guys' names out there. So give us the rundown. If this season was to be, if we were expecting, who were the guys that we should have kept an eye out for, that we want to keep an eye out for going on to college? And who are some of the guys coming up the pipeline for next year when we start talking regrouping and reloading, so more so to say, but who are some of the guys coming up the pipeline?
So we start with our senior leaders. Every year we have a team vote, and we choose. We don't call them captains; they're senior leaders, but they're pseudo captains. And the 4 guys that were elected this year were Luke Napleton, Chris Mcdevitt, Sean Mcdevitt, and Jimmy Moylan. So we start with Luke. Luke is a 3-year varsity guy, comes from a long line of great hitters in the Napleton family, great hockey players, very involved, just an unbelievable family. And if you get a chance, check out Pat DiSabato's article this morning in the Southtown about Luke. So start with him. He had an all-Catholic League year as a junior, was one of our leading hitters, was primed again to have a great senior year. He committed to play college baseball at Quincy. It's a Division II powerhouse, and I'm convinced he's going to go in there and from the start be a major contributor and a difference maker in the program like he's been in ours. The next guy is Chris Mcdevitt. Those guys that follow St. Rita football know Chris as our skinny center. Started at center on our state runner-up team, and he committed to play baseball at Indiana State. And he's a guy who I've seen improve immensely from the day he walked into St. Rita till now. I don't know if I've seen a guy develop as much as he has. And I think, he might have the most upside of any player I've seen in a long time. And I wouldn't be shocked if he goes to Indiana State and ends up being a draft pick out of there. And he's going to do great things. Another guy coming from a great family. His brother played before him at St. Rita. Sean Mcdevitt's the 3rd guy. Sean started third base for us last year and led our team in hitting. Hit 403, struck out twice in over 100 at bats on the season. Was going to move over to shortstop this year to fill Jalen Greer's shoes. Had plenty of opportunities to go play college baseball. Decided on the University of Alabama. And, my conversation with him on Saturday was he's going to consider walking on. And I think he can go there, and I think he might be able to play there. And I'm going to contact the coach at Alabama to give him a heads up that there's a pretty good guy coming your way to keep an eye out for him in fall tryouts. And so excited for that. And then the 4th guy is Jimmy Moylan. Jimmy had a dominant junior year last year, the first half of the year. He threw a no-hitter against a loaded Marian Catholic squad, 1 hit New Trier. We went down to Vegas and had Bishop Gorman, one of the best programs in the country, 11 Ks and 2 hits through 6 innings. And,
not bad.
No, it was an unbelievable. Every inning I'd be walking down to my third base coach's box, and the Gorman coach would grab me and go, "Who the heck is this guy? Where did you get this guy?" He's thrown up 90s on we played at Bryce Harper's junior college, South Nevada Junior College, and they had the gun on the scoreboard. And he's hit 90, 88, 90, 91. Jimmy Moylan's 5'10", 170 pounds, doesn't really look the part, and he's just shoving it on these guys. And these guys are like, "Who is this guy?" Unfortunately, Jim had Tommy John surgery in the offseason, so he was going to have to sit out this year. But he's going to Parkland. And when he gets healthy, I told the Parkland coaches, I go, "This guy's going to come in and make a difference for you." So I know his rehab's going well. I had a good conversation with him on Saturday when I visited. So, yeah, looking for big things from him in the future. And then we've got other guys as well. Winston Hill, through some injuries, never really got a chance to shine in a St. Rita uniform, but earned himself a scholarship to Eastern Kentucky University. We've got Brett Panic. Brett's father's a Rita grad. His older brother played at St. Joe's, played for us, Eric. One of those guys that just kept getting better and better and better and earned himself an opportunity at Quincy University along with Luke. Justin Valdez, a left-handed pitcher who had a great year for us last year, really stepped in when Jimmy Moylan got hurt and carried us to that Catholic League title, with some big starts down the stretch. Got the big save against Mount Carmel in the sectional semifinal game, getting that last out. He's going to St. Xavier, which we're excited about that. The Vulture, Luke Carroll. Luke was our steady Eddie out of the bullpen last year, won 5 games for us. Actually, we're featuring him today on Twitter in our senior spotlight. He's going to play at St. Ambrose. So, like I said, the senior class is special. There's other guys that have opportunity to play if they wanted. Reed Olson split time at third base last year, is going to go to University of Arizona. Carter Berg, a versatile infielder, is going to go to Alabama along with Sean. And like I said, I could keep going on, but these 15 seniors as a group are just a special group. In terms of guys coming up.
And hold on, real quick, before we get into guys coming up, I just want to reiterate all the names that you're saying, the Carter Berg, Luke Carroll, Jimmy Moylan, Sean Mcdevitt. These are guys that I feel our underclassmen really look up to because they're neighborhood guys. They're guys, those Moylan, Carroll, Carter Berg, those are Christina guys. Mcdevitt, Panic, they're Cadgeton guys. Sean McDevitt's from St. Dan's. Napleton's and LaGrange. He's from St. Francis Xavier out in LaGrange. So you have guys that are coming from different neighborhoods, but they're coming from neighborhoods that a lot of our other St. Rita guys are coming from, especially at a younger age. That we get that often. And we've talked about a lot in the football program that you start looking up to those guys, but especially in the baseball program that has skyrocketed within the last 10 years, whatever you want to say, that is, the baseball program has been on an elite status in not only the state, but nationally, that these guys are, the program is built by our core of St. Rita, our neighborhood guys that have always been coming from the South Side neighborhoods, the South Side suburbs. Granted, we'll get great players. You look at Jason Reese, who I got to give a shout out to my future
Absolutely.
Illinois Wesleyan Titan, who comes from Indiana. So we do get guys coming from all over the place, but it's still the guys in our core neighborhoods, the Christinas, the Cadgens, the Fishers, the Martyrs, the St. Dan's, that we get these players from, and they truly develop within the program, and they turn out to. And you mentioned you had 2 conversations with coaches that guys necessarily aren't going there to play baseball, but you're going to give the coach a heads up because they're getting a quality baseball player stepping on their campus without them possibly even knowing about it. So a couple other things that come out of being the benefits of coming through the St. Rita program and being able to take that next step to the college level, to where you get almost half of your senior class. And some years we've had almost an entire senior class sign to go on and play baseball. I mean, I ballparking it. Let's say in the last 5-6 years, you've had at least 70 guys sign to any level of college baseball. If you really want to look at the numbers when it's all said and done, I mean, it's just been a remarkable statistic that the baseball program has been producing high level athlete. I mean, and we'll I know we talk about the guys all the time that have gone on to the pros. We got guys all over in spring trainings, farm leagues, all over the place, about 7 or 8 guys now, but just the consistent production of guys that these guys aren't big league players when they step on campus as a freshman. It's the develop that the baseball program has produced has been just year in and year out, which is why I wanted to correct myself earlier by saying reloading as opposed to saying rebuilding, because it's that as long as that pipeline's strong, which I definitely want to get into. Let's hear some of those pipeline guys. Who else do we got coming up that we want to get a look at coming up in the future?
Our junior class is led by Al Hoagland. Al's a Brighton Park kid, top of the line. Is probably going to be a big time Division I player, 2-way guy. As a sophomore, really stepped up on the mound for us. Got the win against Mount Carmel, thrown 6 2/3 in that sectional semifinal game, 3-2 win. Can really swing the bat as well. Just an all-around great kid, 2-way guy. He's going to do great things in college. Bobby Atkinson has been a staple in our lineup since he was a freshman. Just once again, unbelievable kid. And then, go back down to his younger brother, Tommy, who's a freshman this year. And I think he's going to be a big contributor for us, or at least have an opportunity as a sophomore and going to have a great career at St. Rita. Other seniors to be, Steve Sanderson, a guy that's flown under the radar, was going to have a big year for us. And, he's going to do great things. He's a super talented kid, White Sox ace kid who's, we're really excited about. Liam McKillop has had great success, another Christina guy. Great success on the lower levels for 2 years. He's going to do great things. Brandon Boudet going to do great things. I just reached out to the Ivy Leagues for Bobby and Brandon. They're 2 high academic kids, both 4.6 GPAs. Brandon's a 30 ACT. So we'd love nothing more than to send a couple guys to the Ivy League, and those guys definitely have the academic credentials to do so. But yeah, our senior class, we've got a kid named Tony Rath who transferred in, who really showed us a lot the first 2 weeks of practice, is going to be a big contributor for us next year. And there's quite a few guys. I think we've got a 9-man class, that junior to be senior class, and all of them have potential to play college baseball, and I think I'm really, really excited to see how they take over the reins in terms of leadership this off season. And we're hoping obviously to get some summer work in still if the climate allows. But I'm really excited to see those guys step into that leadership role, because I think there's a lot of guys that really fit the mold of what we're looking for in that respect.
So kind of transitioning here, how has the development changed kind of in terms of recruiting for this year? Because obviously it's going to be difficult. You're not able to get out and see the 7th grade and 6th grade classes to get an eye out there. But how have you guys been doing anything different? How are you guys going to kind of approach recruiting for that next class without necessarily a summer season to evaluate or just meet guys?
So fortunately, having been in this business for a long time, I've garnered a lot of relationships with some of the top travel programs out there. And, they're guys that I trust, guys that, have the same line of thinking as us, are looking for the same qualities out of kids and out of families. So more so than normal, I'm going to rely upon those guys to point me in the right direction on who the guys are best fit at St. Rita. I've got guys at Top Tier, I've got guys at the Sparks, I've got guys at White Sox Ace and other organizations as well. Guys, like I said, guys that I trust. And I've already reached out to many of them to get some evaluations on their 2025s. And, like I said, those guys are great. We work together, we let them use our fields. We try to provide for them as much as we can as a program they do for us. So I'm very appreciative of those guys that are we're really gonna rely upon those guys specifically during this time. We really feel that if we can get families on our campus and get a feel for who we are, obviously our facilities speak for themselves. We've got the John McNicholas Clubhouse, one of the nicest playing fields around. But, I think when people get on our campus is when they really get that feel of what St. Rita is and who we are and, what we stand for. And, I can't tell you how many times through the years you get families that just come to St. Rita just kind of not really knowing what to expect. And they walk out of there just like, wow, I had no idea that you guys had this at 77th and Western. And, I can tell you 100 stories through the years of that being the case. So we really feel like getting them on our campus is the most important thing. And then I think we can convince them that St. Rita is a great place and a place that their son can come and is going to be loved. First of all, is going to be cared for and always going to have his best interests at heart. And, on top of that, we're going to develop them academically. And from a baseball standpoint, I think the thing I take greatest pride in through the years is not only the guys we send to college, but the guys that have success in college. And that's the feedback that we get from colleges. And I always talk to our guys about paying it forward. It's their responsibility now, this class of 2020, to go to college and to be great role models in the program and to be great academically and, hardworking. Because what happens then? Those college coaches come back and they want more St. Rita kids. And that's how you continue to pay it forward for the guys that follow behind you.
And just wanted to reiterate exactly what you're saying, that because you build those great relationships with the different teams and the different youth programs all over the city, you really do start to rely on those guys. But you talked about getting people on campus at St. Rita. And for those of you out there that haven't been able to be on campus or you're not in Chicago or haven't been back to the old stomping grounds in a while, really when things do settle down and you're able to come back out and when baseball resumes, please, you have to come out and check out a home baseball game at St. Rita. The environment is one of the best in the state of Illinois. The facility is top notch. You get out there and we talked about, I've been on many baseball tours with you when we sit down walk around a baseball family and you get out there and you see, the grass, it seems like the grass is always perfectly green. The bricks are always shining with the addition of the McNicholas Clubhouse, that being able to go in and see that, the concession stand, you come out on a great Saturday afternoon, let's say versus Mount Carmel or Brother Rice, when you have a huge student section out on the hill, out in the outfield. And it really is just such a great environment to be in, that it's the facilities and the upkeep and everything, that the support that the baseball program has had for so long and from the school and the success that it's built has really been able to pay it forward and to reload and continually produce the type of student athletes that we want at St. Rita. And you talk about so much that you want to find the best fit for people at St. Rita, and you're looking for people that really fit into the St. Rita program. That it might not be everybody. It's maybe not always the best players or the best students, but it's really about finding that common unity between, hey, this is going to be a good fit for your family, but your family has to feel it's going to be a good fit for St. Rita as well. So those are a couple points that really you get people on campus, and that's really what changes them. So those of you, if you haven't been able to be on St. Rita's campus in a while, please definitely come check it out when we finally get an opportunity to kind of open back up and allow some people to come check out the facilities that have really been within the last couple of years. We've gone through the capital campaign of the new fitness center, which you talked about with Coach Griff, that baseball workouts have now been able to take a step forward. And not only did the baseball program get an additional fitness center, you guys also got a little bit of a batting cage indoors too that you've been able to take advantage of as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's it's unbelievable. The old weight room, for those people that are familiar with our campus, is in the upper deck of our gym, in the balcony of the gym. And, after the weight room moved to our new fitness center, they gave half of it to the baseball program, half of it to the wrestling program. So through some very generous alums who donated money, we were able to build a cage up there. And, our kids use it all the time, after school, before school, at lunch. There's nothing like going up there and watching 6 or 7 guys just getting their work in, getting some teamwork in, and working together, and, the camaraderie that they're building. And, when guys are taking responsibility, they say the judge of people are, what do they do when nobody's looking? And those are the types of things where our guys are taking the initiative to go up there and work, and during their free time during school and before and after school, that's when you've got something special. And obviously having that facility now is a huge thing for us. There's no doubt.
And one of my favorite memories that I have at St. Rita within the last couple of years is that not only you have the indoor batting cage now, but you do still have the outdoor batting cage. And you talk about guys that really put the work in, and you see them go on and succeed. And one of my favorite stories, I remember seeing Jalen Greer, who's now in the Oakland A's program, that it seemed like almost every day when I was leaving work that he was in the cage with his grandpa and getting swings in. And it seemed like, all right, man, who is I think he's a freshman maybe. And then next year it was like, all right, I know Jalen, he's out there. And then lo and behold, you see he really starts to develop. And granted, he grows a couple inches and he's able, his body really kind of starts developing, but you see that hard work. It's like, okay, these facilities that we have available, they're open. You could go in and swing, and it's really on as much as the player wants to put the work in. Absolutely. And it's always a memory that I see. Obviously Jalen, we hope that he'll go on and be extremely successful in a professional career, which he's already hit that success to even get in that realm and be in that conversation to sign a major league contract directly out of St. Rita, and which we have a cool picture last year after the third place game when he won, or the third place game when he won. We got the cool picture of Jalen signs right there in the press box with the Oakland A's. So, which is a special moment for not only Jalen, but for a lot of us at St. Rita, that we get to see those guys come in as little freshmen and develop, and you get those cool moments that you see them pass by. And for me, I'm kind of going through it for the first time this year. And this 2020 class was my first class that I helped recruit when I was working in admissions. So it's been fun and special to see those guys develop. But real quick here, I want to switch gears. I know there's been a lot of excitement in the football offseason. I want to give a shout out to a former St. Rita baseball program player, Bodie Turner, offensive lineman, who's been having a great spring, starting to really pick up some traction in terms of recruiting. I saw he's starting to pick up some FCS offers, things like that. Big news for the O-line, I'm sure is excited about it. Caleb Brown, obviously the name that most people know about. If you keep an eye on Twitter, he announced that The Ohio State University extended his scholarship offer to go in with a bevy of other Big Ten colleges. And I mean, the sky's the limit for him. But how is that excitement kind of transferred over? Have you talking to those guys? I know I talked to them, but how have you feel, especially just O-line wise, when those are your guys? And not only Caleb, but Kyle James and Henry Wilson, and a lot of guys who are gaining traction.
Isaiah. Yeah, so, Bodie and I are pretty tight, obviously. He came up as a sophomore when Trevor Tovey got hurt, and he took over at tackle for him. And, he had some growing pains as a sophomore, but my goodness, he got better every single day. And, he had a dominant junior year, and I guess I didn't even realize how dominant his junior year was till I went back and looked at the film afterwards and said, man, this guy really got after it. And, he's a guy who, he played left tackle when we needed. He played right tackle when we needed. He played guard when we needed. He's such a versatile kid. And, to see him, all the hard work that he's put in, to see it coming to fruition with these offers, I couldn't be happier for him. He's such a great kid from a great family, made a commitment to St. Rita. coming from a long way, and to see it paying off for him. And, being a part of so much success in my 20 plus years at St. Rita, both in the football and the baseball programs, obviously is great. It's great for the school. It's great for the experience of our kids. But I think the thing I take the most pride in is seeing our kids go on to the next level and be successful, and watching their hard work pay off. And when I think of that, I think of guys like Bodie. He's really worked his butt off. I know he has this off season as well, under trying circumstances with the quarantine. But he's primed to have a huge year for us. And we're not quite sure where he's going to play yet. I've talked to him about it, and it speaks to his character again. Then he goes, "Coach, wherever you need me." Whether he's going to plug in a guard or plug in a tackle, we don't know, but we know wherever he plays, he's going to be our leader and he's going to be our best player. There's no doubt. And then obviously Caleb, I know I feel like a little kid when he gets offers like Ohio State. I think how cool it is, just to be a part of that. And I know our staff all shares that, and our whole school community shares in that. And, but here's what I say about Caleb. Obviously he's off the charts talented, potentially, if he avoids injury, is going to go down as quite possibly the best guy to ever play at St. Rita. There's no doubt. But you know what? The best thing about Caleb Brown is, for those people out there that don't know him personally, he's one of the most humble kids I've ever met. And I think, Rob, you can attest to that as well. I mean, he's one of the guys, when you've got the University of Notre Dame coming out to practice to watch you, and you've got Jim Harbaugh coming to visit you, it's easy to get a big head and think you're better than everybody else and walk around, but that's not who Caleb is. Caleb is, it's funny because, we've got friends that are teachers at St. Rita that, aren't involved in athletics, but obviously know the name Caleb Brown, but don't even know who he is because he just blends in. And I think that's what I love about him the most. And I think that's why he's going to have so much success, because he just puts his head down and works hard. It's all about the team, and he's going to do great things. And man, I couldn't be more excited to watch him play. And obviously we're hoping that, we're able to have this fall season, because not only Caleb Brown and Bodie Turner, but the guys you mentioned as well, the Kyle James and the Mikey Gawhans and, Tommy Ulatowski and Brian Johnson, the two quarterbacks, Rob, that you coach that we talked about before we got on the air. Valen Erickson, the guy who transferred in from Florida as a sophomore last year, is really gaining momentum, and he's really doing a lot of good things growing up, and he's going to be a heck of a player for us. And there's so many guys that this is a special group. This football group's a special group. And Rob, we've got that picture hanging up in the fitness center, the scoreboard from the state championship game last year when we fell a little bit short, and guys look at that every day, up until quarantine, and really acts as motivation. And I know we're going to have a great year, and I just hope we get the opportunity.
Absolutely. And it has been fun. Like you said, it's fun for all of us. And I get just excited as you do that you see Ohio State, and you see a lot of those guys. And it's not like it's a first. He's not the first guy to do it. We've had many guys go on and play big time Division I football and all divisions and have very successful careers. But it's still that every single time that a student goes through it, it's just as much fun as the next one, because it means that much for that student. And you talked about, we could talk all day about with Caleb, because I think he's taken it. So he's having so much fun with it at this point, because one of my favorite memories I'll go back to is when we had Tommy Reese out, the recruiting coordinator, the quarterback coach at Notre Dame, came out to practice to see Caleb. And I think he dropped a pass, or like it's something very easy, or he ball slipped out of his hand during practice, and immediately all the other guys started just kind of getting on him and poking fun at him stuff. And he kind of rolls right with it and kind of laughs with it and just has fun with it, and knows that he's, like you said, extremely humble, and he'll be the first one to talk about somebody else who had a great game, or he'll be the first one to say, "Oh man, but did you see the block that got thrown in front of me? Like that was the difference maker." And he's so quick to shove off the praise for it. Let me
jump in real quick here, Rob, and tell a quick story. Dan Schaller, Coach Lugg's our running backs coach, and he's been at St. Rita a long time, 91 grad.
Happy birthday yesterday, by the way.
Happy birthday to Coach Lugg.
Happy birthday. He'll appreciate that for sure.
But I want to tell a quick story about something Lugg pointed out to me on film that is really one of the coolest moments of the season. So we're playing Rockford Moylan, and Caleb's doing Caleb things, and he gets banged up a little bit. And we have the best number 2 running back in the state as well, in Kyle James, and if we needed Kyle to be our feature back, he'd be one of the best backs in the state. There's no doubt about that. Everybody knows that. And Kyle plays defense and, another guy, team guy. So, in that second half against Moylan, Caleb was a little banged up. So we kind of used him as a decoy a little bit and, gave Kyle the ball and he had 2 long touchdown runs. But one of those touchdown runs, like a 60-yard run. And the best thing, Rob, you'll remember this, is not watching Kyle run. It was watching Caleb celebrate,
chase him down,
his arms up because he was so excited for his buddy Kyle. And that speaks to who Caleb is. He was more excited for what Kyle had done because he knew he was getting his opportunity there and he was proving what we see in practice every day. But once again, that speaks of who he is, and that's why he's going to be successful in addition to how talented he is and how hard he works.
And especially you talk about that Rockford Moylan game, you had a lot of big plays come from, granted, Caleb had a great day. He had the big kick return that I think really kind of put the nail in the coffin. And really, when he broke free and stiff armed the guy at the sideline, I think that's one of the loudest I've heard St. Rita in a long, long time. But I think that game, you look at a lot of those guys, Kyle James has a huge play that really gets us going early. You get Brian Johnson who comes back in and he pops off a 50-yard run that Caleb finishes off. And then comes in the next drive, we get a big completion by Brian to Jack Griffin who finishes up. So you get so many guys that had a big play in that game that weren't necessarily Caleb, and Caleb was just as excited as everybody else for those. So, all right, I want to kind of wrap up here. I know we've been keeping you a little bit long here, but it's been so much fun talking to you. But the one thing we talk about a lot of our kids and everybody that we've mentioned within both programs and a lot of our students, we talk about these characteristics that they all have that St. Rita, that all of us at St. Rita, we work so hard to work with all of our students, that those things like they're hardworking, they're resilient, they stick together. We really emphasize family and trust and all those other characteristics. And I just want to get from your perspective, you've been a student, you've been a dean, a teacher, coach, you've connected with students from so many different angles, I guess, and positions. What, if you could say, I know it's a loaded question, but what if you could say in a couple words, like what's that special feeling at St. Rita? If you could try and describe it, what comes out of the students and the characteristics that have continually been able to produce this kind of success, and not even in all students at St. Rita?
So what I can say about St. Rita is this. From my first shadow day in 1988, the first day I walked into the building ever at St. Rita, I felt like home. I walked in and I just had this feeling that came over me that hasn't left. 30 some odd years later, I still get that same feeling every day. And, I talked to our team about this, and you try to get positives out of what's happening right now. And I think one of the positives we can all take in this is to really appreciate the things that you take for granted. You take for granted getting up in the morning and going to St. Rita and seeing all of our kids, and then going out to practice and being with them. You just take it for granted because it's something that happens every day. And then here we are, 60 days or so into not being able to do that. And sometimes you got to take a step back and realize how lucky you are. And I know I treat every day at St. Rita as a privilege. And we talk about that within our program. It's a privilege for me to coach. It's a privilege for me to be a teacher, to be a part of this tradition. And I think so many of our families and our kids and our coaches and our teachers and our administration and our alums, everybody, they feel that same privilege to be a part of this community, to be a part of something that is so special, so much bigger than any of us individually. Just being a part of that group. I think of this class of 2020, to me, and Rob, you can speak on this as well, they've just joined what I think is the coolest group in the world, and that's St. Rita alumni, and that's the thing. And, I tell families this all the time, that I don't know if I can really put into words what makes St. Rita special, other than you need to come and experience it. And if you come in and experience it and you get to know the people and you walk around our building, you can feel it. You can feel it. And you walk out of there, and I think most people say, yeah, now I know what you're talking about. And that's what St. Rita is. And that's why, it's a 115-year tradition of producing great people. And, when I think of myself in terms of privilege, being just a small part in our kids' lives, a very small part, to go on to watch them to be successful, to go on to college, to go on to becoming, great members of society, getting great jobs and becoming great dads and great husbands and all those things, to think that you played just a small role in that is humbling. And, on a day like today, St. Rita Giving, when I think about kids that want to be a part of this, that their families can't afford it, it breaks my heart. And, today to me is a day that so many alums and so many supporters of St. Rita can be your day to make a difference for those families, for those kids. And then you can take that pride in saying you played a small part in watching them grow and watching them come on to be great people. So today's that day. Today's that day of giving, is the day where those people that can't interact with our kids or our school on an everyday basis, they can make a difference. And I'm hoping that the people that are watching this now, who love St. Rita as much as you and I do, Rob, really, really think about that. Today's their day to make a difference. And I know times are tough out there for everybody, and not everybody has the means to make a donation today. But I want to follow up what Father Tom said earlier. You can contribute in so many different ways, whether it's through prayer, whether it's through support, whether it's through whatever, just being a part of our family. But, if you have the means to give, today's your day. And I hope people, no matter how big or small the amount that you can afford, but today's the day you can make a real difference in our kids' lives, and give somebody an opportunity that maybe wouldn't have that opportunity otherwise. And I know our kids will take advantage of that and make you proud.
And it really is so important. And all gifts today, as we're doing our first ever St. Rita Feast Day of Giving, all gifts made to St. Rita today is going to go directly to the St. Rita Scholarship and Financial Aid Fund. So our goal today that we set out for, if you check out any of our pieces that we put up earlier today, is our big goal is $15,000, because that's what it takes to educate one student at St. Rita. And granted, our tuition is lower than $15,000 because we try and make it as financially as affordable as possible. But really, the difference between the tuition versus the $15,000 for every single student in the school, that's where our alumni and our supporters come into play so much, that that's really the opportunity to bridge that gap and to be able to keep St. Rita as affordable as possible, but also make sure that they're still going to get as best as possible the education, the facilities, the athletics, everything, the clubs, the organizations, everything that goes into being a St. Rita student is where it comes into play. So as you mentioned, guys, you could go on and donate right at the St. Rita page. Check out any of our social media. You'll be able to donate right there to that page. We'll be keeping you guys updated throughout the day with tallies. I think we'll be coming out with one about noon. We'll be coming out with one about 4 o'clock to get a feel for where we're at. But please, as Coach Nee mentioned, today is the day that St. Rita, you guys can make a difference into our students' lives every day. And as Coach Nee said, there are families out there that are struggling, and day in and day out, we have families that are dealing with losses of jobs. They're dealing with people being sick. They're dealing with a lot of different issues at this time right now. And those are the people that for year in and year out, St. Rita has always been there to support. And we're going to make sure that students that want to be at St. Rita, families that are part of the St. Rita family, we're always going to make sure that we stay committed to them. And we've made promises to them when they made the decision to come to St. Rita, we told them that they were going to be becoming a part of this family, and that we were going to do everything that we can to make sure that they're able to be as successful as possible for our guys. And today is really that day of taking advantage of that. And today is really about our students. When it's all said and done, it's about the students that are coming into St. Rita and the students that are going to be coming into St. Rita in the future. And we want to make sure that they get the same experience and the same opportunities that I got, that you got, that 115 years of St. Rita alumni were able to receive. So Coach Nee, thank you very much. I know this ran a little bit longer. We had talked originally maybe 20, 30 minutes of an interview. I think we're about 45 in, but really, I appreciate you joining us this morning here, kicking off our first ever live Facebook interview here. So something to put on your resume. I know we talked about that earlier, that you're excited about that, but For everyone watching at home, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you want to hear more about Coach John Nee, there was a great article written about him by a fantastic writer in the Tole Leger edition a couple months ago. So you can check that out. I believe it's on the St. Rita website on the Tole Leger pages. So Coach Nee, thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for more later on today.
Can I jump in real quick here, Rob? One last thing?
Of course. Sure.
So, and I hate to keep going on here, but this is important to me. So I think back to when I started at St. Rita in 1998 as a teacher, and my first opportunity to coach football was at the sophomore level. And that class came to be known as America's team. And, for a lot of reasons that maybe we can't talk about on this, but it's a special class. It's the class of 01 who are moving into their 20th anniversary. And there's so many great loyal alums in that class that have stayed loyal to St. Rita in so many different ways. And I'd like to challenge that class. They've always come up big for us. And, last year when we were searching for some funds to get the stands done for the Rockford Moylan game, I know a lot of those guys stepped in, but I want to throw out a challenge to that group, a group that's very special to me, that really turned the tables athletically at St. Rita. And, that 2000 football team got us back into the state playoffs after 3 years away. The 01 baseball team won 30 games and really set the tone for a decade of dominance of Mustang athletics in the 2000s. So I want to throw out a challenge to that group today to step up again, like you always have through your time, and going into your 20th anniversary. Today's a day you can make a difference, as you have through the 20 years. So I hope you guys take that challenge, and thank you for all you've done for St. Rita. So.
I know that class will really appreciate it. And just to reiterate, for those who haven't seen, we did have a very generous matching gift offer to begin this Feast Day of Giving from the class of 1970. This year was their 50th reunion, would have been in April at the annual alumni banquet. So they were gracious enough to really kind of kickstart our day today with a matching gift for them. So America's team, class of 2001, you guys are up next. If you guys want to pick up that challenge, we're here for it. And anybody else out there, if you want to, please, like Coach Nee said, watch the video that Father Tom put out this morning. It was fantastic. There's so many different ways to help today, even if it's just by sending this video or sending something to a friend, donating within your means if possible, or simply just sharing a prayer with everybody here at St. Rita and everybody dealing with the pandemic at home and all the other issues going on right now. So we keep you guys in our thoughts and in our prayers, all the St. Rita family members out there. Today is about us. Today is St. Rita's Feast Day, a day to celebrate St. Rita. So signing off here. Thank you very much for Coach John Nee. My name is Rob Gallick, and we'll be coming back live again at 11 a.m. this morning. We'll be checking in with senior graduate Nick Adent. And then later on a little bit at 3 o'clock, we'll be coming back with Judy Martin, another senior. He'll be going on to college. We'll be able to talk a little bit about how they're dealing with quarantine and their college plans. So thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys soon.